I can't believe it's Sunday again, TK. This is crazy.
It's like it comes every week or something, you know?
Here we go. Okay.
Yeah.
People are asking for skits. People are asking us to, be
Submit
more
your scripts.
professional. People
Submit your scripts.
There is a lot of demands on us, being the
Talking monkeys.
co-hosts of the most viewed podcast in Canadian real estate history. I mean, it comes with responsibilities.
What we are is we're the original long form Canadian real estate podcast on every platform. So some people might be doing it now, but you guys know who they are imitating, and often imitated, never duplicated. The Canadian Real Estate Show. Welcome, Darryl. We got a great show today. We got so many interesting things we're going to do. We've got some guests. We've got topics. We got rates. We got numbers to digest. We got all sorts of stuff out there.
Rates and numbers. Holy cow!
We're out of the summer market. We're into the fall market. Like
the fall market. When did that start? Is that Labor
not at the
Day?
same time as fall?
Not the same time as fall.
It's kind of when the kids go back to school. We call that the fall market. No one would ever say we're in the summer market first week of September. Come on. Who are you?
So market has changed, and do we feel like it's changed?
Listings are up.
Listings are so based on the numbers that your association releases, which are definitely 100% accurate all of the time, they show that listings are basically new listings are the same as they always are, or at least as they were last year, but active listings, the amount of
22,000,
right?
22,000 options out there for people to buy. But you know what they're saying, Darryl?
Well, if you look at how long they're taking, you'll see that has doubled as well. So it seems like inventory's kind of hanging around for a little bit longer, but the sales are not down that much from last year. Hold on, refresh my memory. Was last year a good year or a bad year?
Yeah, like, comment, subscribe. I'm double subscribed. Do it yourself. Didn't get to fix the show, though. Didn't get to fix the show.
Ooh-wee.
Please subscribe. And
last year was not a great year either. Even though sales now slightly ticking lower, you're not comparing it to one of the boom years of real estate, right? So bottom line is this, buyers just ain't interested to buy right now.
Ooh, yeah. Those are the numbers.
No.
Not interested. Well, I saw that.
There's been so many people. We had such an unnatural demand. And that's how I always look at it. Right now, we're going to have a natural demand from real buyers who need houses to live in over the course of the next month or so.
Really?
For the fall market. But we had all this
real
unnatural
buyers.
Demand. Like, people who I already had a house. I was just trying to buy another house. I was buying an investment property. I was like, all that weird stuff that was going on for so long, that was unnatural. It made no sense. And it skews the numbers. So we need to get back to how many people in Toronto actually need to move every year? So how many transactions do we really need to do every year? Is it 70? Is it 60? Is it 80,000? It's definitely not 120,000.
So you would regularly run into a scenario where, you'd ask them, do you need to buy this house? And they would say, no, not really. I kind of want to buy another house.
Honestly, I didn't have that scenario as much as I have now a bunch of people who have already bought the house and are coming to me saying, "Oh my God, I shouldn't have bought this house." That's why I'm like, wow, there's a lot of people who did this because now they're sort of in trouble.
This is in low rise. Like there's still people that are stuck in the timing doesn't make sense. Like they would have bought at a really stupid time if they're still trying to close a house now. New construction.
Not close a house. No. I'm saying
sell a house.
I'm saying they already live in the house. They're saying, I wish I didn't buy this house.
Oh, the house that they live in. Oh, yeah. I see. Yes, like my wife.
There you go. Prime example. Who sold it to them?
Right. I know. Like, Jesus.
Right. You know what I mean? So this is how it works.
Get us into over here.
I know.
Well, there's a lot of things going on in the market, it seems like, right? It seems like everybody is kind of running around again. I tried to call a few people just to check in yesterday, and like everybody was so busy. They couldn't answer the phone. They called me back at 5. Can I call you back at 8? Are you still working at 8?
We went out for lunch yesterday. I was on a tight schedule, you know.
You were looking at your watch the whole time while we were at lunch, trying to not be
messages
rude.
because it's an Apple Watch, but
Well, it's an Apple Watch.
I knew what time it was. I didn't need to keep
Is
looking
that
at
better or worse than looking at the time?
Well, I get notifications, so it's just like, what does you know?
Doesn't it drive you up the freaking wall? No, you just look like you're super busy sitting there at the meeting. I mean, it's not like we had anything important to talk about, so it didn't really matter. But
we got these red jackets. That's pretty important.
See, the red jacket. People are going to want these one day. We're going to sign them, and maybe we should put some kind of like embroidery on the back one day.
Maybe one day, once we get the right size.
See if we wear them 2 weeks in a row.
But let's just digest the numbers just quickly. So people are out there right now. They're listening. They're watching. They probably saw it on the news. You know, the average price home in Toronto across the Toronto Real Estate Board MLS system is now $1,074,000, which is slightly lower than what it was last year, which was 0.8% lower. So, I mean, prices seem pretty stable. Pretty
from last year,
pretty stable year over year. So that's kind of like a sign that, you know, are we really facing a major downturn in prices? It's hard to say. A lot of the people who are selling, who are going to be selling at the right price, are people who need to sell. You know, the people who don't need to sell. I'm dealing with so many people who are literally just like, I really don't need to sell. They want to sell. They want to get out. And I'm meeting with them. I'm talking to them. And they're like, I could carry this for another year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is. Over time, things change. People are going to have to sell, different reasons and all that kind of stuff. But the people who are getting it sold now are like, I need to sell. And then the buyers who are buying right now are like, I need to buy. You know, there's very few people out there who are just taking out a line of credit or deciding to put money into real estate right now because they think it's, you know, a good bet. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on right now.
It's not a good bet.
I talked about this. No, I talked about this like a couple of times, but I'll talk about it again. I'm at a 30-year anniversary party for one of my clients. I'm sitting at a circle full of people who've got kids in their 20s, maybe 30. And every single one of them is moving to the States. I tell this story to a client today.
Every one out of 30? It sounds like you're embellishing a little.
No, it wasn't 30 people.
Oh.
It was like 4 people.
4 people.
4 families. But their kids all moved to the States for jobs. Good jobs. Wow. One was a lawyer. One has something to do with tech. I don't know. Today, I'm telling this to another client. He's like, yeah, my one daughter has moved out of the country here. The other one wants to move down the state. The smartest, the best, the brightest, they're leaving.
They're leaving.
What are we going to do over the next 10 years? Who's going to be the ones buying the houses that we want to sell? Who's going to be willing to pay $2 million for a house? Where do they get the money
guys from? Jumping police cars at the Tim Hortons drive-through in Mississauga. Did you see that craziness?
I don't know. What kind of job does he got?
I think probably lifting cars would be my best guess. Well, speaking about smart, I mean, we have some people waiting to jump on the show. We decided we're going to do something a little different. But before we do, TK, now is the perfect time for people to subscribe to the channel. Maybe check out the Clips channel.
Comment, just drop a midway comment and say, hey, so far, not so bad, guys. You know, whatever. Do what you got to do.
Balconies.
We appreciate it.
I don't like balconies. I think
the jackets are great.
I
don't think the jackets are that great.
I want a t-shirt. I don't want a t-shirt.
Well, we don't have any more t-shirts.
Thumbs down.
But, you know.
Couple left from Darryl. Email Darryl if you need a t-shirt, but
there might be some in-person t-shirts that could happen, but very limited supply.
But so we decided now, TK, even though we forgot to mention Spotify. Check us out on Spotify. Okay, so
and
TK,
reviews on Apple Podcast.
Okay. Reviews on Apple Podcast.
Yep.
Okay, so TK.
Yep.
Now I'm on LinkedIn. Okay, so ready, TK.
Follow us on Instagram.
Jesus Christ.
Oh my God.
Check us out everywhere.
We're literally everywhere.
Okay,
this is sad.
We're we have a genius from almost day one, maybe even day one, who's been in the comments section. It looks like he's waiting in the wings to jump on a call. Who better to have as the first call-in surprise random caller to the show? It says here, you're not going to believe it, TK. I don't know if you can see
I don't believe
who's waiting in the waiting room. We got some Well, at least one
First of all.
heavy hitter for sure, and one guy who scares the bejeebus out of me every time he makes a comment. We have D. Trent on the line.
It can't be him.
Bring him in.
It's somebody they're just using his name in order to get on the show.
I
They
don't know. It's
knew
got the
we would
same.
let him in the door.
Looks like him. It's got the same.
The infamous.
Hello? What was that? Hello?
Sneezed.
Can you hear us? Is this working?
Can you guys hear me?
What? Who's this?
D. Trent. Is this a real D. Trent?
Who else would it be?
Well, somebody pretending to be D. Trent with a dog picture and a fake voice, because that's what happens.
It's not hard to do.
It's me.
It's
all right. Well,
you.
how do we know it's you?
Yeah.
This show sucks. You guys are idiots.
Well,
it might actually be.
Sounds
him.
a little bit like D. Trent.
Sounds like it could be him.
Anyways,
Why? Who's Meathead? D. Trent. Which one of us is actually Meathead?
Both of you. You both
of us
suck.
Both suck.
TK looks like an avocado fucked a bad haircut.
Whoa! Thanks for joining us.
I'm going to tell my barber that.
Show.
Darryl, your forehead is way bigger on the big screen.
What? How do you know my weak points? We got to get rid of this idiot. Who the heck do you think that was, TK? That's ridiculous.
So, well,
could not
guys,
have been D. Trent for
that
sure.
could not have been the real D. Trent. Like I said,
that didn't work according to plan so far. Okay.
People are using that name in order to gain access to the show, and we commend you for it.
Well, I guess that was well played. I don't think that was really him. That sounded like a goof. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's too bad. I was kind of hoping it would be him. Well, should we try someone else? I'm
a
little gun shy right now.
Well, I'll just send him in. Who is? We'll kick him out just as fast.
It says Mark Morris. Maybe it's really Mark Morris.
Okay. Well, bring Mark on the show. Let's talk to somebody who knows what we're talking about.
But the last one said D. Trent, so I don't know. Oh, it is Mark.
It is him. Okay.
How are you guys?
Real.
Oh,
it's real. We thought there might have been an impersonator today because we've got an open line for people to join us. But
that didn't go well at all.
I'm loving the look, guys.
It's real.
Thank you. Which look? What are you talking about?
No. Just the normal look. Just the normal look that you guys usually have. That's what I'm commenting on.
That's right.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
We're up there.
Thanks for joining us on our most professional looking episode of all time.
Love it. And Darryl, I've been spending the time in the waiting room looking at your new project in Forest Hill. I'm loving it, by the way.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Awesome.
Yeah. I just got back from there, funny enough, and I didn't mean, I wasn't planning on going there today. I was downtown looking at our horrifically ugly, disgusting architecture in this city, which is actually really pathetic. But okay, that's another story. So I'm on my way back. I figure I'll stop by the Forest Hill project and just kind of look at it and feel inspired by it, and hopefully, not run into any of the neighbors. And I get there and I see the community meeting sign is up, the community consultation sign is up, which is really cool. And so there's a truck on the street and there's these two guys sitting there, and I say, hey guys, do me a favor, take a picture of me with the sign, will you? And they go, do you own this place? I said, yeah, I do actually. And I thought he was going to say oh, wow, that's super cool. You're the best. You're the coolest guy ever. But instead, what he said was,
you're a real jerk.
There's a leak in the basement of one of the units. And I said, what? How is that possible? The water was shut off. And he goes, I don't know. A neighbor, apparently a neighbor called in, and I said, it's leaking so badly that a neighbor could hear it from outside. And so he takes me to the back of the house, and lo and behold, there is definitely a loud leak inside one of the basements of that.
What side of the meter?
To be the side that's
City
not
side?
going to cost me any money to pay for whatever the hell's going on there.
There you go. There you go. Very nice.
Some good news. But yeah, very excited about that project. Appreciate you mentioning that, sir. Maybe you'll get on the list to buy one of the units.
I only shout out the good ones.
That's right. They're only starting at around $5-6 million, Mark. So
perfect.
Right,
done. I'll take 3.
Buy a rental. Buy a rental.
You can rent it out. They're perfect for investor units.
What's the feel out there, Mark, right now? What's going on? Last time we talked to you, it was all pre-construction, doom and gloom. Can't close my contract. Oh my gosh. What's out there right now?
Well, hold on a sec. What did I say? Because I said something on Twitter that set Mark off, and he sent me a message going, "I gotta talk on your show. I got some shit."
He's ready.
It's a fucking nightmare.
He's
Yeah,
prepared. He's got hours of content.
I've been sitting in the oven ready, and now the bread is like baked. So now I can tell you, guys, it's a shit. Yeah, I'm allowed to swear on this show, right? It's a shit show out there right now. It's really, really, really bad. There's a bigger picture that's kind of coming to bear now on the market, which is becoming very apparent to those of us who have been following it. I'm sure for you guys as well, and that's this. 2019, 2020, 2021, and even 22 were years of irrational exuberance. And what happened was an investor class moved into investment purchases in a way that we've never seen before. Much, much, much larger than was traditional. And what that did was it put values off kilter. And by off kilter, I mean relative to Canadian incomes, we went, I think, 11 times Canadian income, just far and beyond anything that a normal Canadian would pay for real estate. That had the effect of continuing and ballooning out the way all bubbles do until it popped. And the reason it popped was because investors are no longer seeing 10% returns. And because of that, the investor core fled the market, leaving only those people who used a different metric of value, not someone who saw 10% return because they were in bubble territory, but rather those people who were again tied back to income. And what that means is that we are watching a bubble of asset value deflate. The reason that the reason that I'm a bit depressed by watching what's taking place is we're now in an era of interest rate declines. I say era because we're going to see more interest rate declines over the course of many months. It's expected, frankly, that a quarter point is going to happen at every subsequent meeting, possibly until middle of next year. And that has TikTokers positively jumping for joy, doing their dances and everything else and talking about where the market's coming back. But the truth is, if you understand the underlying financials, there's a great reason to doubt that interest rate decline is going to do very much to assuage the new reality, which is that we're so off kilter in terms of our pricing that without the investors and the promise of 10% returns, whether we're at 4.5%, 4%, even 3.75%, we're still off kilter from where Canadians can afford. And so what we see is a scenario where interest rate declines are not stemming the bleeding because people are committed, particularly those people who entered into new build product in 2019 onward, and they are just basically sitting ducks. What has changed since we last spoke is the exits have closed. This is the critical component. The exits have closed. It used to be the case, particularly if you purchased new build and you were looking to get out, so long as you were ready to release your deposits, that is to say the 20%, no problem. There were still buyers. There are no buyers for assignments. There is no out. And as we actually move forward to 2025 and 2026, where we're closing 2021, 2022 product, there will be less outs because the 20% that you've put down with the builder is irrelevant if there's a 40% price decline. Consider that the value now in the market, what is moving on the assignment market, are sub 1,000 per square foot in Toronto, whereas the average square foot cost, and it's just amazing to say this, in Moss Park, of all things, was 1,600 a square when we were at peak. So we're talking about 60% declines as against 20% deposits. Nothing is moving. So we have a scenario where multiple people have invested huge sums of money, are unable to exit their positions, and are basically sitting ducks. And the builders themselves are no longer able to do anything other than sue. And the lawsuits have begun. And as a result, what we're seeing is this contagion. And the contagion is now starting to, I'm sorry to be so depressing here today, but really, this is where
That's why we brought you on.
I'm just actually reaching for my gun under the desk here right now.
The contagion has started to spread because we all look at investors as these Chinese investors who are living in Shenzhen or whatever it is and that just invested. That's not who the typical investor is. The typical investor is me. I'm a 50-year-old man, soon to be 50-year-old man with assets. So I buy condos because that's the Canadian way. You buy real estate. And as a result, there's a whole lot of people, particularly people who are younger than me, who didn't have a chance to actually grow their asset base yet, who had invested in their first or second condo in the hopes of selling and propelling themselves into mid-market territory. And so what we're seeing is that the contagion that is taking place, particularly in shoebox condos, because the shoebox condo is where the investors were all based, that is now spreading to the $1.2 million product. And we're really at the $1.2 million decline where nothing is moving in that area as well. And so what we're seeing is we're seeing the sentiment and the problems that took place in the shoebox market. The contagion is starting to spread upward through the chain. And so what does my day look like? My day, honestly, twice a day, I'm speaking to people who are defaulting, who are crying, who are sitting there saying, what happens? And really, we're playing a pity game with the builders at this point, trying to convince people that they should not be sued. Please, please, please. This was their only home. They have no assets. Woe is us. Trustees are taking us out for dinner now because they are sensing that we are the new source of leads. In fact, I was speaking to a trustee just a couple of days ago, never been busier. I had another trustee, a major trustee, call me today saying, do we invest heavily in the consumer or the business side? I said, no, it's definitely the consumer side at this point. It's the consumers that are taking their hit. Commercial real estate kind of took their, like, land values reassessed almost immediately in 2022 or so. Like, the land is worth 60% of what it was at the peak. And that reassessment took place by the majors almost immediately. It's in the lagging consumer sector that ultimately the pain is yet to be felt. We're now at the tip of the spear. It's starting. And so, big breath out. That is where we are.
I want to just make one small correction, Mark, and let me agree with me or not, but I think it's really important. You said it decreased, the prices decreased down to 60%. So it's 60% of a or 40% decrease. The prices it was never worth the price that was on that piece of paper. There was never a product that was built where somebody said it's worth $1,600 a square foot to buy at Moss Park, right?
But there was a commitment signed to that amount. So anyone who's committed is fundamentally in at that price point.
There's a 40% or 60%, whatever the number ends up being, differential, right?
That's right.
Because it's like, why were these people signing these contracts? And it was all hype, and it was just like, it made no sense. It was the only way that the project was going to get done. Darryl can attest to that. The numbers as far as the margins that the developers on most of the projects were making weren't extravagant. Land costs, like you said, was at a premium, which has now come down a lot as well too. And so it was just like this perfect storm of, it was a trap.
Marketing.
It was a trap.
And we have a real problem because that trap was used by our municipalities to terrible effect. Because instead of having had to balance a budget, they were able to continually raise development fees. John Tory was the worst at this. Just raise development fees to the nth degree, and people would continue to pay it because what they were doing was they were taking advantage of a bubble the same way people who were trying to assign were taking advantage of a bubble. But where it leads now that the bubble has popped is a situation where it is impossible to develop anything. There's no construction going up. Every time a crane goes down, 500 jobs are lost in this city. And cranes are going down. They are selling no new build product, and it's a direct result of taxes. Direct result of taxes. New build taxes, which are the most pernicious of taxes that exist because it kills your ongoing revenue. The less you have for ongoing entry taxes, the more you have for ongoing revenue. And yet the municipalities have raised development fees to a point where no developer can pencil any project. We're having nothing in the sky. The only thing that is still in the sky were the heydays of bubble mania. And we have to have a serious talk with ourselves and either prioritize seriously building in the future, which means lowering these taxes to hopefully nothing because there's no good that comes from them. Or alternatively, we're going to be stuck in doldrums where ultimately more and more people come into this country with less and less places to live, and we're just creating mass problems for ourselves going forward.
Is there a chance, though, that lack of supply, because this is what all the developers are putting out there right now, they're like 3, 4, 5 years down the road, we're not going to have any new supply coming on because our projects aren't selling right now. Is there a chance that supply is going to be so undersupply, like it's undersupplying the market, where we're actually going to see an upward pressure on prices again that's actually going to get people out of trouble?
Which market, it's which market? Because right now the market is so vastly different between condos, high-rise condos, boutique condos, condos designed for end users versus investors, and then houses and townhouses. Like these are all going in not the same directions, right? So what market are you actually talking about right now? Are these investors in high-rise projects that were all very speculative in nature, and or are these like people that were planning on moving into the unit at some point and just got caught in a bad storm?
Are you
Mark?
talking to me or are you
Yeah,
talking?
yeah,
I think
yeah,
you're
yeah.
asking TK.
Yeah, nobody cares
Oh,
what
He doesn't
TK
ask
me.
me
has to
questions.
say.
Yeah.
He talks for
I just
he
wear a red
talks
jacket.
every other day.
Look, the the market, we so overbuilt shoebox condos that and there is no longer a return in them, and they're so impractical for daily living that I just think we're going to have an abundance of oversupply in that area for a long period of time. I just don't think that shoebox condo is the only way you could pencil a project. That's going to create further impetus to actually not being able to launch, because you have to launch bigger condos than what has gone out. We aren't New York, despite what we'd like to think sometimes. We just aren't.
That's
We're
for sure.
Toronto. You can't do 300 square feet. 500, 550, and even then that's hard to live in with someone else. And we're at a point now where we are a metropolis that is starting to raise our families in towers, which means we need larger towers, and the investor class being gone and scorched, and have so many of these products coming on the line, because that's what the vast majority of these buildings were. You are going to see a glut in that area. But it's going to push a glut in the larger areas as well. Because first of all, we have none of those larger areas coming online, because that's not what's sold in the past couple of years. So there'll be increasing demand for these things. But I mean, Darryl, you're a developer. Are you able to pencil larger bill? I mean, it's easy when you're in Forest Hill. Kudos to you. You can charge whatever the hell you want. But if you were in downtown, could you pencil
No,
a project with 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms? Of course not. Of course you
no,
can't. I mean, maybe you
absolutely
can do
not.
that in rental now, because the HST is gone, and that does help things substantively, like credit where credit is due. But that those incentives haven't been provided to builders. So what will happen in the future? Well, I don't know. We have a perfect storm. We do have immigration, although the immigration is being cut back significantly now by all levels of government. And by which I mean not levels of government, but by all parties. The liberals are now on side. They realize they have a real political problem, and they're shutting down immigration too. The conservatives, when they come in, they're going to hammer that. So one way or the other, the immigration caps are off, but we still have the people who have come in. We still don't have housing for it. And fundamentally, the longer that those people stay in Canada, the more likely they are to need larger accommodation, based on the fact that we all reproduce. And there's no way to pencil those projects anytime in the near future. The only thing that changes this game is the 35% drop in costs that come about from government taxes when the government gets serious and realizes, oh shit, we have a real problem here.
Well, I think construction costs are going to come down as part of this process, since there's nobody building
Yeah, wait till you
anything
start.
and there's still stuff to sell and there's still people that need to do stuff.
Yeah,
But Mark, this was supposed to be a short appearance, and you have brought down the level of energy considerably, and we thank
I
you
thought the
for
market
that.
was back for the fall,
TK's been
but
telling us everything's fine, and then here
I
you
don't know. I got the
come.
Treb numbers, and it says we're even Steven year over year, but guess not. More pain out there.
A red jacket? I want a red jacket, man. This isn't fair. Like, what the
We will
hell?
send you a red jacket for your next appearance, sir.
Gents,
Thank you.
gents,
What
Appreciate
size
it.
jacket?
I'm sorry. I needed to be depressing with an audience. What can I tell you?
You have succeeded beyond everybody's wildest imagination. Thank you for that. Now I'm gonna
All right,
go
guys.
and try and sell everything that I own. Thank you.
My best, guys. Take care.
Okay,
See
Mark.
ya.
Bye bye.
All right. Well, I
Well,
guess that was a little better than the first one.
well, I don't know. I mean,
But now I feel like
geez, Mark's,
total shit, man.
we've been talking about this a lot. I mean, I've been talking about it with everyone too, right? Those buildings that got financed with the blanket appraisals, right?
Oh my
They're the
God, what
ones
a
that are
good
closing.
idea.
They're closing. But what
Okay.
about the ones that are going to be closing in the next 2 years, where the difference between the purchase price and the actual appraised value is going to be more than the deposit, more than the 20% down payment?
Listen,
That's when we're going to have real issues, Darryl. I'm telling you, what's
we
going to happen.
have the real issues. So I was talking to somebody yesterday. Chris spoke. He was on the
Yep.
show. He from Toronto Standard, and I said to him, I said, "What is going to turn the tap back on for people to be willing to buy these pre-construction condos because nobody's buying them no matter what right now because the investors are gone, right? That investment is done for now. So they're gone. And the end users, who the hell can make a decision to live somewhere 5, 6, 7 years from now? The system is flawed. It's broken. You say that people will turn stupid again. You've said that before as like, things start heating up again.
I've witnessed it. People turn stupid again.
I hope. I mean, I don't know.
Nobody buys real estate.
Financing has to change.
Nobody buys real estate because they've looked at all the different scenarios out there and they've said, okay, you know what, this is the best use of my money, and then I'm going to be able to, get a return that I think is really safe and sound. Even the most savvy investors, okay, I'm telling you, they look at it. There's an emotional element. They look at, what are other people doing? Is this something that I'm going to be able to sell to somebody later on? Even the guys who've got really good, solid performers who are focused on cash flow in underperforming markets and all that kind of stuff, who are really, really disciplined. At the end of the day, if they knew that nobody in that area wanted to buy properties anymore and that everybody was just liquidating their properties because it wasn't a good neighborhood to be, they would change their tune. So we're easily influenced by what's going on around us. So right now, because no one's buying, the masses aren't buying. Even the most seasoned people aren't buying. It doesn't matter what I tell them about how it's a great opportunity to get in because you're not competing and all that kind of stuff. I am not trying to convince anybody right now to buy real estate. Believe me, the only people that I'm working with that are buying, like they're homeless, like not literally, but they need to buy a home and they will be buying because they don't own one or they've already sold theirs or they're living at home with their parents or whatever it is.
That's a perfect segue, TK. Homeless people. I mean, well, we have another person waiting to get on.
Is it a homeless person?
I don't know. It's just a phone number.
Zoom?
I'm a little nervous.
Well, that's good. No video. Number. Let's bring him in.
Well, they could be a homeless person. Is what I'm.
The fact that they've been patient enough for 40 minutes just to be sitting there on the phone waiting, they deserve it.
I don't know who this is. We'll hide the phone number.
No,
I don't know
if it's asterisked. Yep.
Some asterisks there. I mean, you only have to guess 4 numbers.
Hey.
Hello.
Good day, boys.
How are you?
Good day. Who is this?
Anyways, my question for you, TK, is the market changing? And as to who is buying properties currently?
Well, that's a fantastic question. I'm glad you addressed me because Darryl doesn't know what he's talking about. So
that's
a wise decision.
Wise.
I was just talking about it. Basically, who's buying houses right now is the homeless.
The homeless people.
Only the homeless are buying right now. It means they've already sold or they're getting into the market right now for the first time. If you already have a home, you're not interested in real estate. And the market right now is building inventory. We're not going to see a shift where we have more sales than we do new listings for a very long time. We'll be adding more listings compared to sales every single month until we get back to a point where buyers are ready to start buying again. Investors are ready to start coming back in again, and that people gain confidence in the real estate market.
It's not just an interest rate thing though, right?
It's not just an interest rate thing. We're going to watch interest rates go down, and we're going to see the same thing that we're dealing with right now continue to happen. More and more listings. The number one thing that I have so many new listings coming on the market in September. It's probably going to be the most listings I've ever put on in a month. And I'm telling you right now, everyone's saying the same thing. Well, interest rates are coming down. It's a good time for me to sell. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
The buyers aren't saying, hey, I'm going to save $100 on my monthly payment. I think it's a good time for me to get back into the market.
Who do we have on the line here? Who is this?
It's your good pal from the Atlantic provinces.
Charlottetown.
Welcome.
You guys
Oh, well, thanks for calling in and waiting.
Did you get a shirt?
Long. This is the research department for the show right here.
Well, we're wearing shirts right now. We got shirts on, we got jackets on, we're fancy.
She got shirts.
The other question I have, I guess could be either. Is the current municipality, provincial, and federal funding structure helping builders build?
No.
Darryl, you can take this one.
No, that's an easy one. No. It's starting to look like some of this stuff might help with the rentals. I still only see opportunity in super expensive areas. I don't really see how anything works. And I think most other developers will say the same thing. Most of all these incentives are actually being used by guys that already own land with buildings on them. And they're going in these tower in the park kind of old developments, and they're going in and they're adding more towers and townhouses and stuff to their sites using all of these, new incentives because they have like no land cost. But we're getting there. Our friend that was on a couple of weeks ago, Matt Young, with his initiative. Oh, we lost her. Matt Young, I just saw an email from him saying that they're actually getting somewhere with that can't win thing, where they were saying that all of us would, give back the difference that we got from the government. Well, apparently Pierre Poilievre reached out to him, and they're making a board game or something about how impossible it is to build stuff in Canada. I don't know what's going on, but
we're getting somewhere.
Somebody thinks that they're
somewhere. A guy who might be in power a year from now might have some interest in doing something about it.
That's right. Not looking just for more votes from a whole bunch of
or to show
influential
his distaste
people
for the current government. But whatever,
he's probably trying.
I hope
to get
it works.
Us,
I hope it works. Tell Pierre to give a call to the show. We'll get him on the show. We'll give him a real platform.
That was a good call. We had a couple of good calls there today. Too bad D Trent wasn't the real D Trent.
That wasn't the real
or was it? No, not the real one. Well, that's too bad. I mean, I think that's enough. Sorry to all of you that are still waiting in the wings there. We're going to let you all go. Sorry. But thank you for waiting this long. That was enough for my liking, TK. I don't know if I even like that idea.
I'm not sure if that went as well as we hoped it would, but
it
that's okay.
Definitely didn't go.
We're willing to try things. We're willing to try new things.
This is why we have such a wonderful show. So, okay, we didn't really talk about rates, but does anybody give a shit about rates anymore, TK? Like, were we
people who are with Scotiabank who are on a variable rate are going to watch their payments go down $100 a month or something. They're happy.
Right. And so the people who had the rates that, or the payments that did not adjust, but their term adjusted or their amortization adjusted, are they happy now? Or is it making a difference for them?
I don't think they're really noticing.
Betting years on that
amortization. And everybody's afraid of the variable rate right now, right? Like even mortgage brokers are afraid to tell somebody to get a variable rate. And so when people are refinancing or they're getting a new mortgage or moving, whatever it is, they're all going fixed because everyone's like, oh my gosh.
I just want to know.
But really, when you think about it, variable would be the right move.
Now it would be.
Expect that rates are going to continue to fall. But regardless,
shouldn't we expect this?
I'm giving you a hypothetical situation, right? That's if you expect that rates continue to fall, then going with a variable rate would make more sense. But anyways, like I said, I digress. People are afraid of the variable rate right now. And so, you've got a lot of people who are coming into the market right now, and these rate cuts don't really change much. Like if you watch fixed rates, obviously they're tied to the bond market. They haven't really been changing too much this year. They were a little bit higher at closer to the 6% mark. They came down to 5%. We've got some sub 5s now. And
didn't you see the article about rate wars that the banks are having?
Banks are starting to,
What the fuck does that mean?
Look, the banks are always going to be competitive with rates. The number one, the biggest competitor was HSBC, right? And now they've been basically
swallowed up by RBC.
So that was the company that was, or the bank that was going to be making sure that you've always got the best option. They were the first 1.99% 5-year fixed bank, right? Before everyone else.
They were trying to manipulate.
Who's got that mortgage? If you have a 1.99 or less 5-year fixed that you got in 2021, and that comes up for maturity in 2026, leave a comment.
But what are you doing right now?
I want to shake your hand.
But can you afford the renewal?
Doesn't matter. Think about the interest that you saved over that time period
on the house that you're going to lose now. Like that's
not as long as you bought the property, or maybe you own the property. Maybe you didn't buy it. Maybe you bought it 20 years ago. You just refinanced.
Oh.
So you're not worried about the price. You just, when you renewed your mortgage, you're like, yeah, sure, I'll do a 5-year fixed, and it's at 1.99.
You're for free money to put in the stock market. That's
whatever it is.
right now.
You're my hero.
Little Bitcoin.
I remember when I was renewing, it was a 2.8, and I was like, "What is this garbage? How dare you give me a fixed rate of 2.8?"
Oh, what I would do with a
Right?
rate of 2.8 TK.
Put me on a variable. Things it's not can't go up that much, you know. So that decision cost me, you know, up to date, you know, like at least 50 grand. I don't know, 30 to $50,000. It's not a huge mortgage, but it's still enough.
My rate is so high,
in my butt.
TK, that I can't wait for my next renewal. Okay.
Yeah.
At these rates. Okay. I am excited. I would love to lock in now. It would cost me a goddamn fortune if I
see, look, people care about rates. We're talking about rates, and me and you care.
Oh,
2 out of 2.
I'm about to
100% of people on the
refinance
show.
a property or extend. You see, I have an option to extend, but it would be foolish to extend under my current terms, especially when I'm about to, you know, get some feedback, I would imagine, soon from the city, which kind of pushes up the value on the property.
Well, let's talk about commercial stuff a little bit here.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about commercial, right? Because commercial real estate is actually the biggest bubble we got.
The biggest bubble. Which part of commercial real estate are we talking about?
I would say the majority of commercial real estate has been
like offices,
overbought, has been
office?
overbought. Yep.
Office.
Industrial is getting killed right now. The amount of listings that are on and nothing is selling.
Really?
Retail has been killed since COVID.
Empty? Are they
multifamilies
empty?
Don't sell. Commercial multifamilies are just sitting there because they want a 2 cap. The buyer wants a 6 or 7 cap. So those aren't moving.
No.
Commercial real estate's getting killed.
The industrial stuff is empty and for sale, or
I don't think
and for sale?
Industrial vacancies have gone up. So I think that there's still
those were
a reasonable amount. Yeah, I think there's still a reasonable amount of occupancy rate. It's the sale prices of the industrial that are crashing down. Because when you look at it and you try to make sense of it at a 7 or 8% interest rate, you know, you're going to want to get an 8 cap or a 9 cap, and it just doesn't exist. You'd be lucky to find a 5.
Are these sellers that need to sell and they
That's
just
the
can't?
problem with commercial real estate, is that a lot of people are financed because based on the income of the property. So when the bank is giving you that mortgage, they don't care what you have. They're saying, if I have to take this property over from you, what can it carry? So the maximum amount of the debt coverage ratio that they've issued for those properties is at the current rates, or whatever rates were when they were refinanced, or rental income when they were refinancing or purchasing the property at. And so it's carrying itself right now. Yeah. And so even though there's some people who want their money out, they can't get it out.
Can't get it out.
Because they just can't sell for a price or they're not willing to sell for a price. Because if they were willing to sell for the right price, they would think it's a loss. But if you think about it, if the market continues to go down, these prices today might actually not be so bad, right? And that people should be taking advantage of getting the houses on the market. The bank's exposure on the commercial real estate is insanity, right?
I always drive by these giant, like, commercial industrial parks with these, like in Mississauga and Brampton, with these crazy, gigantic, long, deep buildings, and just wonder, like, who's got the balls to have that thing where, like, 1 month being vacant just wipes out so much of the income, you know? Yeah. And generally it takes, I mean, how long does it take to rent out a 500,000 square foot warehouse? You know, there's only so many people looking for this. And so I don't know. I mean, I guess you can get lucky and find someone to move in just as the last guy's moving out.
But when they're financing it, though, it's right. So you got a debt coverage ratio that's going to cover that. So you got to have a certain amount of cash flow. They factored in vacancies. They factored in repairs and maintenance. They factored in management and costs and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of things already built in. And when the time comes that you do have those vacancies and you do have turnover and you do have repairs and maintenance and everything else like that, that's expected, right? And that's why the bank underwrites it. The bank underwrites it, you know, really, really, really strict in order for those type of scenarios, because the money was made in commercial real estate from the 70s.
Yeah, you gotta own the thing. You gotta have no debt on it.
Those are the guys who are like the titans of the commercial real estate world. Like any of the guys that I meet, either them or their kids are now selling the properties. It's because they bought it like 30, 40, 50 years ago, 70s or 80s.
My wife's grandfather bought a few buildings back in the day.
Yeah.
And these things they're not in the best locations, but because of how long ago he bought them, the locations ended up being decent and they're worth, a decent amount of money. They're always full. They run beautifully. There's no debt on them. And like, the her grandfather who bought them is gone, and now the next generation is like talking about selling it. And I'm like, guys, why would you ever sell this thing? It's like a printing press. And if it's empty, nobody cares. You just wait till we fill it up again. There's no pressure. There's a management company. It's like it spits out money. Why in the world would anybody sell? I don't get it. Why
people need money for
people
different reasons.
want
So
the
obviously people sell, but that's where the
cash
money was made, is that generation there.
back
Guys
then
now who are buying
in
or have
that.
been buying, I know they'll, there's strategies. Okay. You're a seasoned real estate investor. You buy the property, you use other people's money, you get in the door. Now you own your, percentage, and you've got some cash flow coming in. You don't care how much equity is in the property, because at the end of the day, you're going to hang on to it for 30, 50 years, and there's going to be money to be made. But if you've been buying, commercial multifamily over the last, let's say 5 years, right? Yeah. Okay. You got your financing on it. Yeah. Okay. The bank might still be willing to refinance you when the time comes, but how long is it going to take for you to actually get returns on that money? Right. And I think that that's going to be something that is going to be really painful for people to sit through. We're not there though. We're not there. The prices have not come down. There's no desperate sellers. There's very few power sales. Only if something was really mismanaged would something like that come up, and the commercial real estate market is going to be in trouble. And then on the land side,
What about renewals and that stuff though? Wouldn't
well,
that
the
be
bank doesn't have to renew it. The bank can look at it and say, you don't have the debt coverage ratio for us to give you the financing. So they'll go private. If it's razor thin and the bank won't touch it, they'll go private. And then what happens there? You got fees. There's guys out there who would love that deal, because guess what? They're going to pick up a property
they'll
real
figure
soon
out how to make
for
it work.
80%,
Sure.
right?
Yeah,
80% of the value, or whatever it is, 65 or whatever number that they're picking it up for on the value, on the loan to value, right? On the land side, like nothing's transacting. Although I got a lot of hits on my land listings over the last week. A lot of people are reaching out, so that's good. So people are starting to think about land again. But like, how do you finance land right now? And why are you doing that? What are you planning on doing? Are you going to do a
have
development?
to.
You're going
Yeah,
to build some houses? Are you going to build
you
a
got to
single
know
family home?
something. You got to have a real
I don't know why
angle.
you're buying. I'm the one selling it. I don't even know why they're buying it.
Yeah, but
You know?
listen, you got
How
to
are you going to make
find
money on this?
a fantastic deal, and everything has to like really work well. Otherwise, it's ludicrous.
Yeah.
Or you have to
But
get
just,
some crazy terms or something.
yeah, your deals are different because they're not the expected highest and best use. And so therefore you've got something that people didn't know about. I'm just talking about land where it's like everybody knows what it is.
Sure.
You got 400 houses that are going to be built on that 100 acres. You got a single family home on that one. You got a row of townhouses on that one, whatever it is. Those places aren't selling.
No, and
And the
that's what I
buyers,
was saying. If people would actually listen on the show and they would actually listen to some of the things I've been saying, is there is a really good opportunity out there. There's this kind of gray area at the moment that is ripe to be what's the word I'm looking for? Manipulated? No, is that the right word?
taken advantage of?
Taken advantage of. I mean, pretty much the same thing, but it's there. And if you know about it, and if you are, I guess, a little bit crazy, because you know what I realized, TK, about me and my deals? There's always some crazy like part of it that most people just don't want to touch. You know what I mean? There's like some thing to get over that most people would say, I don't want to deal with this. This is going to be a lot of work, right? Or this is going to be, a little too early or something like that in this area, or, whatever. But and I think that's a secret sauce that people can also take advantage of, because when you sort out problems that other people aren't willing to work on, you can really find some fantastic opportunities. And they're out there. You just got to get out there and do shit. No
Education.
shit.
Anything,
No
any
shit.
market, any investment, any time of year, any location, education, education, education.
There's
Any
deals.
deals that I've lost money on is because I jumped in stupidly and I was not thinking and I knew nothing. And I'm like, everything's just going to work out, you know? So
that
there's
was
two
me.
options you've got. One is you can educate yourself, or you can invest your money with somebody who's already educated.
That's a good idea.
Those are the two options.
Well, I let the
Right?
market educate me, and that was a really bad move because that hurt like hell, and
Yeah.
it took a long time to come back from.
You went in uneducated.
I'll tell you, I would feel a lot different in this current environment right now, doing what I'm doing, if I had things set up the way that they were the last time around. I'd be a sitting duck, right? Because that was like super ridiculous amounts of leverage and no money in and like just stupid. But now things are like, set up in a way where there's lots of equity and there's lots of vested interest, and people are going to make sure that, things get over any little hurdles that come our way. But what's wonderful, especially about the one in Forest Hill, TK, I can't say enough about this site, and I won't stop saying enough about the site.
But it's already financed. It's already good. You don't need.
Mark brought it up. Like, it is a gem in such a friggin' fantastic area, and it is so unique that normal market doesn't apply here, right? We're not looking for investors, right? People are not buying these things to rent out. People are going to buy these
iconic property that you can only get one chance to ever buy. Who found you that property?
You know what? Like, probably that same guy should have found me my house. Oh,
there you go.
I guess it's just
two for two. He's doing pretty good. Yeah,
absolutely perfect.
But I believe that right now the time for most people, is to cut back on your expenses, to figure out how you're going to be able to, manage your money a little bit better. This is what happens during, recessionary periods. People start to figure out what's important to them and what's not important to them, and not splurge or, go buy luxury items and all that kind of stuff. Inflation's already reached, I don't know what the average cost increases on food and clothes and all that kind of stuff like that, but we're easily 50% higher than we were, a few years ago. So whether or not that inflation rate starts to cool down and we get back down to a 2% inflation rate, which sounds fantastic compared to 6 or 7%, those prices have still gone up. So
how do they come down?
They're not going to come back down. My bananas are not going to go back down to 49 cents a pound.
No, these suckers are used to paying $6.99 for bananas,
and I'm just going to keep paying those prices and keep going forward. And that's how I'm going to end up, putting myself underwater, because I'm not going to have the same amount of income that I did before. So that's got to get cleaned up. And that's, to me, the best advice anybody could get is clean up your act, figure out how to be able to manage your expenses, figure out what areas you can increase your income on, and then decide if, buying an investment or buying a bigger home or whatever it is, getting into real estate makes sense or not. Because I think people forgot about those things. People were just gung-ho. I'm making money. Don't worry. I'll become a crypto millionaire. All I got to do is buy a house, and that's really, really put us in a bad position. So I don't know, not to say that I wouldn't work with an investor, like, oh, how dare you, but I really would vet them. I have enough business on the go to be able to actually go through it with them and say, hey, does this really make sense? And I've done it 1,000 times. That's a lie. I've done it 10 times recently, but I've done it many times over my career, where you just look at stuff and you say, this makes no sense for you to buy right now.
For most people, most things probably don't make sense. But I can't really imagine a Toronto where prices come down on houses much, if anything. Like, I really
unfortunately for the average buyer, not much is going to change, but we'll be stagnant. Like, come on,
stagnant's fine.
Who can say that we're going to have a 30% year over year increase, or who can say we're going to end up, doubling prices over the next 10 years? That's a bold statement.
I don't know, but
we were saying that a few years ago.
We
were saying, hey, 10 years from now, it's double. What do I need to worry?
2009, things went to hell and they bounced back fast and hard, and prices went way past where they started when things started to fall apart. And it was a very short period of time. It was like, I don't know, less than a year, I think, between when things started to fall apart around me and things started to fly back. And obviously, this is different, apparently, because it's already been like 17 years, this downtrend. But what concerns me the most is that nothing makes sense. When rates were going up, the whole fucking world fell apart and everything went to shit. And so, logic would dictate to me that when rates were going down, that, good times would be here again. But I think
The hard times
rates
are just
going
getting
up,
started.
well, but it really exposed how fucked up this whole thing is.
When rates went up, we were talking all the time about people are still spending money. They're still spending money. What's going on? It's
Yeah,
just one
that's
of
true.
those lagging indicators, right? And right now with the
Are
rates
they
coming
not
down, it's the
spending
same
money
thing.
now? Like, do you
Now
feel like
they're
people are not in
people
the
are spending
malls?
less. People are spending less.
Is this a fact? Or are they just getting
I
less
told
for
you
their
last
money?
there's the retail sales and everything like that were down. They like the Stats Canada has been putting that out. Yeah. That was on one of our last episodes. And then now you got the Fed talking about dropping their rates, as much as 50 basis points.
This is
So
crazy.
obviously that's going to be something that's going to be, looked after as well too, which is, great for us, obviously. Right. We want to have a nice,
but it doesn't sound like it.
green light for the Bank of Canada to be able to keep dropping rates for the rest of this year without even thinking about what the US is doing as much.
Because when they drop, we don't have to worry about our dollar getting too far off of theirs. Did that even happen?
All those type of relationships and side talks. Bottom line is we need more rate cuts in order to be able to, push forward and push through this. Not on the real estate side, just to be able to relieve some pressure on the people who are already in their homes for their refinances, for their variable rates, all that kind of stuff, so that they can put more money aside for their families and keep their heads above water. But it's going to be a while. That's the bottom line. Accept it. Live with it. Deal with it.
Deal with it. Get over it.
Listen, we had good times for a few years. All right. What did you do with all that money?
Well, it seems to me.
What did you do with your CERB money? Come on. Where's that $2,000 a month? What did you spend it on?
Depending on when you joined this episode and which parts of it you watched, you could be very excited about good times being here or just around the corner, or you could have shit your pants and be running for the hills because it is going to get nasty. And I unfortunately was around for both. So as usual, at the end of the show, I'm confused and emotionally scarred. But damn, do we look good, TK?
Guys, comment. What do you think? Do you like the jackets? Is this an if this is a every week suit, or you think we should just lose it and go back to our old selves?
I think,
and we may not even listen to you.
Yeah,
we want to hear about it. In
the up and ups think that this is where it's at. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
It is Canadian.
Look at these backgrounds.
Holy. Are these new backgrounds or are they the same backgrounds? TK,
the backgrounds that we have. That's the main thing.
That they're there. That's for sure. They are there. Well, TK,
it's another great show.
Another interesting show.
New format.
What did I miss anything? I don't think I missed anything. Well, I'm wondering if we're at the bottom, but it sounds like we're just at the top of another little hill. It's the top of another little hill that's
not at the top. That's what I can tell you.
Yikes. Is this the dead cat bounce?
I can guarantee if you buy today, you are not buying at peak prices.
Not at peak prices.
Yes.
Not at that peak price.
Should we do a quick peak price below peak comparison right now?
On what? What are we comparing to the peak?
Right now, the average price right now is $1,074,000.
$1,074,000.
Get a calculator.
Calculator?
Yeah. Do you have a calculator?
Of course I have a calculator.
All right.
It's on this thing in my pocket, this phone thingy. What was the number you said? I forgot already.
Take 1,334,000.
Okay.
Subtract 1,074,000.
260.
Now divide that number by 1,334,000.
1,034,000?
Yeah. Times it by 100.
$18 billion? Did I get it right? No, 25%.
25%.
What did we just figure out?
25% below peak.
25% below peak.
Yep.
Holy, that's the average.
That's what you've been waiting for, right? That's the average average price of
the
a property sold
average
on the
price of the
25%
average
below peak.
house. This is median or average?
Average.
Which one do we like better, average or median?
Well, we got the average, so just use the average.
Okay, so the average price from the peak has gone down 25%.
Yep.
Yikes, TK. And now we're talking about more blood in the streets coming soon, and
According
all
to
these
Mark,
people.
I guess we'll find out next week on our show.
According to Mark, it's like, holy. All right, well,
lots more to go.
Brace yourselves, folks. It's about to get interesting.
Ugly.